Formerly suicidal Redditors, what's something that kept you alive a little while longer and helped you to get through the dark times in your lives? I turned to love and Satanism, which empowered my mindset and encouraged me to look after myself mentally, as I never had the philosophical guidance growing up, no direction for morals, and now my self-esteem gradually rose over time. Coming from a Christian family where my parents are rather prudish, I never learned how things in life worked, constantly felt guilty for no reason and felt ashamed for who I was, causing me to feel suicidal. I reached out a few times to my mom, asking her for guidance, as I have made a lot of bad choices in my youth, as well as the receiving end of bullying and harassment, and I finally wanted to know why I was never taught to stand up for myself. Her reaction? I have always been praying for you, and things got better in the end. That was the pivotal point where I realized that the only person who could help me was myself, and it was my sole duty to look after me the best as possible. So in the process of doing so, I discovered Satanism, which gave me the guidance to stand up for my values and help discover myself. I still have suicidal thoughts every now and then, but it's not as bad as it used to be, after finding an outlet for grounding myself. I fear nothing more than not seeing my daughters grow up. Although death in general scares me, the thought that my girls would have to go through the challenges of life without their dad was far, far worse. Knowing that if I committed suicide I'd leave my family and friends behind. Suicide does not end the pain, it just passes it on to someone else. This was when I was in first grade. I didn't realize until a month ago, it was the classic mom would be sad. Also, I had no tools. My children, pets and plants. They wouldn't understand, and no one understands them like me. My existence is allowing theirs to be better. I had some usefulness. My dog, she wouldn't know where I went. When I saw my parents in the hospital after my failed attempt, it was the first time I had ever seen my dad cry. It was heartbreaking to know that I had made this strong man cry when none of the other hardships in his life had been able to do so. I made a promise to myself that I would not make another attempt, at least while he was alive. Making the promise helped me to push through therapy and learn how to identify my irrational thoughts so I can keep myself balanced. He's now 82 and still going strong. I probably have another 20 years at least that I have to keep this promise. If I kill myself, I also rob myself of any possible positive outcome and happiness. I die sad. I don't want to die sad. Because if I commit suicide, the chance of my sister doing the same goes up 30%, and I'm never going to do that to someone else. Especially my sister. I had some really good online friends, and if I were to actually do it, I knew they would never know what happened. I didn't want them to feel that feeling, and I couldn't imagine what they would feel if they actually found out what happened. I think that was one of the main reasons why I kept going. The thought of getting more body mods. Reminding myself of the things I want to live for. I want to meet my wife and my kids in the future and be a good papa to them. I want my parents to meet my children someday. I want to see my brothers be happy and successful. One dumb thing is I want to be the first person in my line to have a PhD. Whenever it gets bad and a part of me is screaming, it's so hard. It'd be much easier if I didn't exist. The other part responds by thinking about the countless beauties of life and the things I have to be alive for. Another sunset on the river, another day in the fields of wildflowers, another night laughing and being silly with my brothers, another road trip singing my heart out to every song, another nap in a hammock with my cat. When life feels like too much and my brain feels like it's going to explode, when my heart feels numb, I think about these things. Another one is thinking about the reality of it. I saw the movie Paddleton on Netflix, and at the end, they showed the raw and real death of a patient with terminal cancer, who chose to end his life before the cancer consumed him. He was crying and holding his best friend, and he kept saying, "I'm scared, I'm scared." It absolutely broke me. Whenever I think about the reality of death, that scene comes to mind and I decide to live a little longer. Life can kick my ass every minute of every day, but the sweet, sweet moments are worth living for. My son. just knowing my little boy would be without me. I couldn't do that to him. I just found things to distract me, and after a while it just got better. It's strange, I don't really remember a ton about it, it's all kind of vague and fuzzy. I've made a big effort to just push that stuff down. I would just keep looking forward to a new movie coming to theaters, finding a new movie to get excited for, set the date later and later, until eventually I found someone who helped me change and then turn my life around. Still love movies though. Honestly, new video games is a big one for me. Then after a while I just start looking forward to new things that I haven't done, like traveling, getting a big house, having a kid. Then all of a sudden you came to realize that life doesn't have to mean nothing, it could mean something, even a little thing, it is still something to you. Not something that's going to be popular, but alcohol has kept me alive until it finally started killing me. All of my best memories was during that period in life. Sad, isn't it? Nothing can give me that feeling again. 2 years sober. All the people who want to see me tomorrow, I might feel like shit, but I can't let my loved ones live in a world where I killed myself. Friends and family. Suicide doesn't end the depression, it would have just passed on to them, so I stayed here. I was a coward, never doing enough to see it through. I drank until I couldn't remember. Hoped I wouldn't wake up. Always did wake up. I was suicidal from about age 10 to into my early 30s. I had a couple friends kill themselves and a couple others who tried. I held on to that awful feeling, and I regularly reminded myself if I were to attempt it, that is how my little brother would feel. He doesn't know it, but he literally saved my life every day for 20+ years. If you think nobody cares if you're alive, try missing a couple of bank payments. My animals. Where would they go? They would miss me and wouldn't understand. I would never want them to think I gave them up or something. A friend said she wanted to talk to me before I did it. Then she made me feel some hope again. My dog. Dogs can't go to therapy to understand loss. When my family dog died in February, I realized that she was who I held on for. In June I adopted my current dog, and even though he sees me more as his personal assistant than his mommy, I would never intentionally leave him. 1. Ketamine infusion therapy, wouldn't be here today without it. 2. Dialectical behavior therapy, DBT, learned many skills that have made handling the many and unceasing waves of shit that his life was, and continues to be, a huge help. Writing my feelings down. It gave me a place to vent and be my truest self. Sure, I felt like no one would understand my pain, but it helped to be open and honest with myself. A place where I could put the pain instead of holding it inside. I wrote my feelings down regularly, but then I started to write poetry and songs about how I was feeling. Attempting to make rhymes let me express my feelings in a constructive way that also took some of my focus off the pain and on rhyming the words that attempt to explain my pain. I'm still as suicidal as I have ever been, but I guess that's how it is to live with bipolar disorder. During the dark times I just keep telling myself that it gets better every now and then. And I just live for those moments. Shrooms and therapy while on shrooms. When my dad sat me down when I was around 13 and told me that if I killed myself it would absolutely destroy my mother. Spite. A lot of my depression came from abuse that had occurred as a child. I took it as a personal offense that, after being berated and belittled as much as I had before, that the gremlin in my brain thought it was going to win out on me. If I can survive a little dick that thinks starving and beating a child makes him a big man, I can survive this moment, essentially. Don't know how this is gonna sound, but the announcement for the new season 4 of Rick and Morty was announced, and included in that was that the creators of R&M signed a 7-season deal. Although instantly great, now I have to stay alive for 7 more years, and I was serious about that. Also around the same time, the announcement that Tool was gonna release a new album. When you're suicidal, I think it's a natural thing to try and find anything that means something to you. I probably won't make it until 18 anyway, so what's the point ending it now? I really couldn't imagine myself becoming an adult and just figured I'd probably have an accident or something before then. In my 20s now, so Macron /_///Macron. A little late to this one. It might sound stupid, but Game of fucking Thrones. I was so excited about the last season that it legitimately made me say, I kinda want to know how that ends. It was a major deciding factor. The end was shit, and I hated it. But I'm still here because of it, so I'm grateful. The thought that tomorrow will be a better day. Most of the time it isn't. Knowing someone would find my body and probably be traumatized by it, and that someone else would have to clean up the mess I made with my corpse. I wouldn't want to do that to anyone, so when I'm unable to care for myself, at least I can care about other people.